Okay, I'm back. It's a little bit later on in the evening. Hopefully, caught you guys all after dinner. Hopefully, not too many getting that food coma for your Sunday evening. But welcome to my podcast. I am Joe Evans. I'm your first congressional candidate for. Still working on that. I'm your Congressional District 1 candidate for Idaho, Libertarian. Yes. See my little website there. That's where you can go to contribute to my campaign. Keep things running, keep things moving. If you go back into the post, you'll actually see all the other platforms that I broadcast this on. All simulcast, yes. I'm so technically savvy. Look at that squirrel. Squirrel. Oh, yes. Anyway, back to the issue. Tonight is Sunday night. It is an Ask Me Anything. So please let me know what sort of things concern you, what it is you're interested in seeing done in Congress, what you're interested in seeing done in Idaho. Maybe you want to ask my opinion on something. What's my views? How would I see something done different? Is there something in Idaho that needs to be done different? Is there something in the United States? I mean, because really, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking at the congressional seat, not a legislative seat or a local or an Idaho. I'm actually running for Congress, yes, for all the good, we're going to make some good happen there. Absolutely. So, ask me anything, folks. Let's go ahead and cover a couple topics while we're waiting for the rest of you to show up. Participate? Yes, come on, please. Ask me anything. So, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, I guess it was 2 nights ago, 1 night ago. Today's the 20th. I guess that happened on the 19th. That's what happens when time shift catches you. So, Ruth, she's been sitting on the Supreme Court for a long time. Ruth's also been one of those that's been very involved in civil rights over the years. Some people would even call her an activist judge because of differences of opinions she had with certain other judges. A lot of Americans' relationship with Ruth is complicated for understandable reasons. A lot of people say that during her time on the court, she had significant growth. Matter of fact, we had a couple cases come straight out of Idaho that she had very significant influence on regarding the way that things went. I guess I'm stuck with a bright light. Yes, I am. But regardless, we now have a vacancy. Now, one of the nice things about having Ruth on the, Justice Ginsburg on the court, which she did believe in civil rights. So she was one of those votes that was very much against several of the rules and clauses that were inserted into the Patriot Act. So Ruth, Justice Ginsburg, was very much against a lot of what was in the Patriot Act. We no longer have that one individual creating that barrier between the Patriot Act and American citizens anymore. Most of you are very much aware that the last justice that was picked by Trump, Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh is very much a fan of the Patriot Act. Now, the odd thing is the Patriot Act allows black bagging of U.S. citizens for miscellaneous reasons, and they don't even have to be justified. Literally, you can pick somebody off the street, hold them indefinitely, until you decide it's time to release them, if you decide to release them. And that's a problem for me. It's a problem for a lot of libertarians. And we've seen the testing grounds for the catch and release in several cities across the United States. Started out in Portland. Yeah, Dark Sage, what you got? Let's have it. Provided I can actually talk about it on a family-friendly environment here. But they've already gone through Border Patrol in places like Seattle, Portland. They've gone and exercised, a catch and release program to see what the tolerance is for it at this stage in America. And I think they've sort of come to the conclusion that they can pretty much get away with it with the majority of Americans still. American Civil Liberties Union is protesting it. There's several other organizations that have been protesting it. But at this point, the bulk of Americans are perfectly happy with what's happened in a couple locations. The Portland incident is another big one. The reason why the Portland incident is a big one is because without a trial, an individual was executed by the state purely on the suspicion that they were indeed the individual that was identified in the video. Video was grainy. Development. Was the guy a bad guy? Yeah, the guy was a bad guy. Still, it's not the job of state to conduct summary execution, extrajudicial execution. Doesn't matter how bad they are. That's not the state's job. Right to self-defense, individuals killed in the moment while somebody's defending themselves, it's one thing. State with more than adequate firepower to take the individual unharmed should not be executing them in the process of an apprehension. It's just my thoughts. Now, Ruth was Pittsburgh. Okay. Let's go ahead. Dark Sage, your question. Been a lifelong Republican, not conservative, more moderate than anything else. Idaho is effectively a one-party state with a Republican Party-dominated Senate and House. Not sure what party you belong to, but how would you hope a way or reach out to a moderate Republican like me who may differ from the National Party in terms of issues? Well, that's actually pretty easy, Dark. I'm a libertarian. That means I'm more socially liberal. I'm more fiscally conservative. I don't believe the government should be involved in anything that goes on with regards to, well, a lot of things, actually, especially with regards to the federal government. Now, as an Idahoan, you want to come to Idaho, you're moderate Republican coming to the state of Idaho. I'm going to warn you. You show up in the state of Idaho as a moderate Republican, you will be identified as a raging liberal. That's just Idaho, man. It really is. Even our most liberal Democrats are more conservative than California or New York Republicans. They really are. It's almost bizarre, the number of people who show up in Idaho thinking, I'm hardcore Republican. Go GOP. And they show up here and go, no, this ain't the GOP I'm used to. Hey, Dems, you got a seat over there? Yeah. That's just the truth about Idaho, Dark. It's the way it's going to be. We are a fairly religious state. A lot of conservative religions at that. We have a strong Catholic presence. We have a strong LDS presence, even strong Baptist, number of religions that have moved into the area in pursuit of religious freedom. Also very fundamentalist, very core values. So even our most ardent leftist are still to the right of an awful lot of these more liberal community GOP individuals. Yeah. So when you come here as a moderate, know you will be identified as a raging liberal and just accept it and roll with it. Uh, I not at this time. Uh, sorry, Sussex. I really hadn't planned any visitors this evening. Not for this. Running out on too many platforms, and I don't know you. One of the problems with being a libertarian, my trust factor is somewhat busted. Maybe some other time. Hit me up. Let me know what's going on. Okay, so, but now we're looking at a situation. Last justice that was assigned to the Supreme Court. Gay marriage and abortion. Oh, dude, you'll fit right in with the Idaho Democrats. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that is the Idaho Democrat platform. You know, gay marriage and abortion, everything else, state of Idaho, Democrats, you're essentially a Republican, except for those two issues, and those two issues alone. Now, one of the other areas where you get into problems in particular with that is, come on, let's admit it. Nobody in the forced birth movement actually wants to win Roe versus Wade. The second they win it, the money stops. That's a money laundering scheme for a lot of them. They keep bringing in the money as long as they keep promising to fight for, fetal rights and all of that fun stuff. Anybody who's been paying attention to that fight for the last 20 years knows that, dude, they don't want to win. If they'd wanted to win, they'd have won already. They've had more than enough opportunities over the last several years where they've had dominance in both houses, the executive, and even enough control over the SCOTUS in order to get Roe versus Wade or find workarounds that would succeed in the Roe versus Wade argument. They haven't solved that problem. Tells me they don't want to solve that problem. Keep the money coming in. Spend as little of it as possible. Keep the money coming in. Boom, done. We're keeping a lobbyist employed somewhere, doing effectively nothing. It's one of the nice things about the Libertarian Party is, we go back to the Fourth, because that's ultimately what Roe versus Wade is. It's a Fourth Amendment argument. It's whether or not the state has the right to interfere with an individual's privacy to that degree. Oh, dude, Dark Sage. Oh, no. See, you're a Democrat in this state. Tried and true. You show up here, you might as well register blue. Yeah. Yep, you show up in Idaho, you might as well register blue, because that is not an Idaho Republican. Sorry, man. It's also not an Idaho Libertarian either. Idaho Libertarian platform, it doesn't matter which state you're in. The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. Period. A lot of the laws, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms organization, Libertarians want it done away with. Idaho Republicans want it done away with. Well, some of them anyway. Not most of them, but some of them. But yeah, no, that's not going to work, Dark Sage. It's not one of those that really flies real well in either the Libertarian or the Republican Party in Idaho. And even within regards to the Democrats, a lot of the Democrats, especially after this COVID thing, a lot of Democrats that used to be very much against guns, well, they're all gun owners now for rather scary reasons. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one because, yeah. Yeah, as a libertarian, I do not support the assault weapons ban. I think it's bogus. Murder is in the heart, it's not in the weapon. If a murderer actually wants an assault rifle, if they want a full automatic weapon, they're going to go out and they're going to find it if they feel that that's what they need in order to do what it is they want to do. So all prohibition does is it prevents law-abiding individuals from owning and possessing self-defense, while criminals are allowed to continue to own and operate, not legally, of course, but they will still possess, they will still have on their person, the ability to do great bodily damage via illegal firearms, and your average civilian will have no defense against it. That's not one of those things we're real good about. So yeah, again, hate to tell you this, but you come to Ruby Red, Idaho, you're even going to have trouble fitting in with some of the Democrats. That said, Boise, you like living in Boise? Boise's a nice little blue bubble. Little expensive at the moment. Make sure you bring your job with you because there isn't a job here for you. Is what it is, man. Is what it is. So, what else we got? So, yeah, I'm going to get back to Patriot Act again. Okay, a lot of the Patriot Act decisions pretty much came down with Justice Robert being the split. Now, the thing is we go ahead and add another real conservative, real pro Patriot Act judge to the list, which it is very much within the possibility of, especially if they're as pro Patriot Act as Kavanaugh was. Roberts, a little bit of this, a little bit of that isn't going to fly anymore. You're almost going to get exclusively conservative judgments coming out. And that's going to be especially so with regards to the Patriot Act and all of the modifications that have been made to it through the different NDAAs. It's the National Defense Authorization Acts. It's been used to actually modify the Patriot Act several times over the past 19 years. Yeah, it's been 19 years, folks. How's that feel? You feeling old yet? I know I am. But yeah, we go back to those issues where we're looking at basically everything in the Patriot Act because we are currently in a state of emergency. Believe it or not, there are something like 19 state of emergencies, federal state of emergencies that have never been resolved. You know what? I'm actually going to have to look that up because 19 sounds a little high. Here we go. Let's try this. Active federal state of emergencies. List of national emergencies in the United States. Current. Ooh. Here's one. This one was from Carter, man. And this, blocking Iranian government property. That's still an emergency order. Current from 1979. Whew. There we got one. Here we got one. Clinton wrote proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. That's export of weapons. Got another one under Clinton. So this one's going to be 3. Prohibiting transactions with terrorists who threaten to disrupt Middle East peace process. Wait, isn't that us? Oh, yeah, anyway. Iranian petroleum resources. That one's a Clinton one. Blocking assets and transactions for significant narcotics traffickers. That's 5. Maritime. 6. National emergency relating regulation of anchorage and movement of vessels. 7. Sudanese government. Another Clinton one. How many am I at there? That's 7. 8. Bush. Blocking property and persons who threaten international stabilization. Bush, continuation of export control regulations. Bush, declaration of national emergency relating certain terrorist attacks. It's the 2001 state of emergency. Persons who commit, threaten to commit, or support terrorism. Blocking property, undermining democratic processes in Zimbabwe. And we still have an emergency order from 2003 regarding Zimbabwe. Okay. Developmental funds for Iraq, other properties. Bush again, blocking certain persons, prohibiting certain goods to Syria. Ew, that's Syria, 2004. We didn't finish playing that game. Another one from Bush, blocking properties certain in Belarus. Dude, Belarus, of all places. Conflict, Democratic Republic of Congo. Sanctions, sovereignty of Lebanon. Sanctions, North Korea. Sanctions, conflict in Somalia. Sanctions, Libya. Transnational crime organization sanctions. Yemen sanctions. Okay, that one's ended. For those of you who are curious, that was disposition of highly enriched uranium extracted from nuclear weapons. Sanctions imposed on Russia over the disposal of highly. And that was actually an Obama one. I imagine that came sometime around the time frame of the Uranium One deal. Anyway, Obama, situation in Ukraine. Obama, Sudan. Obama, Central African Republic. Obama, Venezuela. Obama, cyber-enabled activities. Obama. Burundi. Interesting. Here we go. Now we're into the Trump orders. Trump. Serious human rights abuse or corruption. Sanctions due to Myanmar. Foreign interference in U.S. elections. Yeah, that one went into effect 2018. Still in effect. Nicaragua. Emergency border. Or national emergency concerning southern border. That's our fence, man. $8 billion in funds. Securing the information, communications, technology, and service supply chain. Sanctions. Bans American companies from using telecommunications equipment that the Secretary of Commerce declares to be a national security risk. Interesting. God, I'm surprised that one hasn't been challenged. Public health. Novel coronavirus disease. Blocking property of certain persons associated with International Criminal Court. Oh, yeah. That was the people who were coming in to do investigations on war crimes in Afghanistan. So let's go ahead and do the count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Dude, 36. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. See exactly what it is we're dealing with. You can go ahead and post something here on the banner real quick. Those of you who are interested where I just pulled all that information from, right there, list of national emergencies in the United States. That's a WikiLeaks list. more than 30, man. We still got 30 emergency orders, most of which were over petty stuff, exhausted stuff. And geez, 1979, Iran still in effect. Have they bombed us recently? No, I don't think so. Anyway, no, there's some people that dispute that with me, but it's all right. I don't consider certain units to be part of the combative operations. And that'd be like blaming the CIA for Nicaragua. We're never going to own up to that shit, are we? Okay. What else are we looking at? World politics. Okay, go ahead. Send it, Sage. Let me know what your question about world politics is. I got an opinion for all the good an opinion's worth. Got lots of opinions. If I didn't have lots of opinions, I wouldn't be running for Congress, especially as a libertarian. But yeah, 31 emergency orders, man. Jeez. At least half of those can probably just be wiped off the deck, you know. I mean, could you imagine Joe Jorgensen coming in and saying, hey, oh, yeah, Jason, you're right. We can't even own up to our own COINTELPRO. You know, we're the worst. For those of you who aren't familiar with COINTELPRO, okay, that's damn it, I'm actually going to have to look that up. Counterinsurgency. I hate the way the military goes in and they abbreviate things. They never make it simple. Okay, so derived from Counterintelligence Program, COINTELPRO. Okay, so now the thing is this is an FBI program. Yeah, which means it's actually used against U.S. citizens. And this isn't what CIA does in like Nicaragua and Iran and Afghanistan. You know, that's not that. COINTELPRO is what the FBI uses domestically to disrupt enemies of the state. Now, what is an enemy of the state? At the moment, an enemy of the state is whatever AG William Barr decides is an enemy of the state. Think that one through, okay? COINTELPRO, especially with regards to Billy Barr. And I'd say I hate bringing this up, but I actually do love bringing this up. Because Ruby Ridge was a COINTELPRO operation spearheaded by none other than then AG Billy Barr for the Clintons. No, he was Bush. He was Bush for that. 1992, that was still a Bush operation. But Billy Barr was in charge of that. You know what COINTELPRO did? They sent somebody in to convince Randy Weaver he needed to sell them. Actually, it wasn't even a sell. It was a modification. They took a gun to Randy and told him to modify it for him. And that's what Randy did. Randy modified guns. Randy liked to do that. So you had an FBI agent go in and tell Randy, you modify this gun for me. Well, Randy modified it. Just enough so that it was illegal. Then he failed to make an appearance at court, so they issued a bench warrant for him. Now, claim was that Randy was a violent insurrectionist. So they did some shady stuff. ATF alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. FBI joint operation went in. It's starting to sound like Waco, isn't it? Well, that's another thing. Janet Reno was Waco. Clinton was Waco. Thing is the Department of Justice, because Waco happened like 2 weeks into Janet Reno's tenure. So Janet Reno hadn't had a chance to put her imprint on the Department of Justice. Billy Barr's fingerprints were still all over it. All over it. Ruby Ridge, Pine Ridge, destruction of the Black Panthers, infiltration of La Raza, COINTELPRO. You know, anybody who's fighting the state right now, COINTELPRO has a file on them. You're a water protector, COINTELPRO has a file on you. Your Black Lives Matter. And I mean, an actual street agitator, not the organizers sitting back in D.C. as part of the establishment. Yeah, those people are part of the establishment. 501c3, BLM, part of the establishment. Damn good chance they're getting paid by somebody in COINTELPRO. Spill dirt on you. So, another reason not to get involved with BLM, the organization. Stick with your local activists. But even then, if you're a local activist, if you're a street activist, chances are by this time there's a COINTEL operation going on against you. Probably even a COINTEL. That would just be me being egotistical to think that, you know, the FBI actually has a file on me somewhere. Yeah. Right now, I'm just a libertarian candidate. FBI don't give a damn about me. Oh, yeah. All the 3 percenters are being watched. Randy Parker running for legislative seat this year. I think he's Central Idaho for Freedom actually did a Michelle Stennett, Randy Parker. They did a debate here not that long ago. Televised straight to Facebook. If you're interested, go in and take a look. Randy Parker, he's the Idaho head of 3 percenters. For those of you who aren't familiar, Randy Parker was actually the individual that was photographed up on the freeway, laying down between the 2 pylons, supposedly drawing a bead on federal agents. Exonerated, government overreach, yeah, all that. He's actually running for office right now in Central Idaho. But yeah, just like you said, Jason, absolutely, I agree. All the 3 percenters, which is ironic because they would have just been added back to the COINTELPRO documents, because for the longest time, the white extremists, the white supremacists, the white extremists, and a lot of those organizations were actually told to be dropped. All those investigations dropped, the files shredded or whatever. So I imagine somewhere there's an FBI agent somewhere trying to recreate years and decades of files on some of these activists. But yeah, by now, remember, this is Billy Barr. Billy Barr doesn't like anybody who challenges the status quo. Anybody. And he'd just as soon shoot you dead than have you stand trial. Yeah. And now he's got the Patriot Act to back him too. You know, as if it wasn't bad enough, back in 1992, during Ruby Ridge, in 1993 during Waco, you know, when you had senators on the Judiciary Committee like Joe Biden, you know, providing this nice little overwatch, allowing, you know, Billy Barr to continue doing what he was doing, letting the Department of Justice continue to do what they were doing. You know, even before we had the Patriot Act, we had a Department of Justice that was already doing a lot of things that the Patriot Act has finally made legal. So yeah, about that. Who knows? One of these days. I'm not involved enough. I'm not insurrectionist enough yet to actually get a target painted on my back by those boys. But Ryan Parker, pretty sure he does. Some other individuals as well. Hopefully, Ryan's the only one I know. But yeah, COINTELPRO. We won't even own up to our own stuff on that. FBI has been committing human rights violations, under different Department of Justice heads. Like I said, AG Billy Barr back in 92, Janet Reno in 93. Even more recently, right? Patriot Act, totalitarian's wet dream, use of CIA protocols and Homeland, Department of Homeland Security. It's what it is, man. It's what it is. Department of Homeland Security, Patriot Act, authorization of the CIA playbook on U.S. soil against U.S. citizens. Further reinforced by Obama, of all people, by authorizing some variation. What was it? Propaganda Act. Yeah, he actually signed something that allowed propaganda to be used on U.S. citizens, which is really scary, especially when you step back and you go, oh, wait, didn't our new president, I shouldn't say new, he's been there for 3.5 years. Didn't our president just say something about mandatory patriotic education or you won't get your Department of Education funds? Yeah, someone said that. I'm not happy about that. You shouldn't be happy about that either. And some of my other friends know. Last thing you want to do is be stuck in a U.S. re-education facility. And if you don't think we haven't done it, you're lying to yourself. Big time. We got U.S. re-education facilities that date back prior to Camp Minidoka and the World War II internment of the Japanese. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Jesuit priests, man. It's all right. We won't get too much into the darker history of the United States and our sins. Not in this conversation, anyway. We got so many current ones. But anyway. Dark Sage, come on. You had a question. What was the question? World politics. What do you think is important? But yeah, no, Patriot Act. And it's unfortunate because, as I was mentioned earlier, the Patriot Act, totalitarian wet dream. It's been in place 19 years now. It's been in place 19 years. There have been several times when it's been challenged successfully with the previous court while Ruth Bader Ginsburg was sitting on it. Thing is we replace it. A lot of that case law is still new enough that it can be challenged. It's not like we're going back 100 years to, God, what was it? What was the slavery statute that was such a big deal when the Republicans screwed it up? Okay. Where do we stand in the world power game? If you're looking at it from an economic perspective, absolutely, we are on par with Greece right now, which means economically we're screwed. We have enough of our own supplies, our own strategic reserves, that we can probably continue to operate our military at full global strength for about the next 5 years, provided nobody goes in with a major embargo against us, and we can continue to count on at least some of our allies for at least another year or two. Economically, we're screwed. The fiat currency that we are currently dependent upon for our economic strength is only bolstered by the United States military. and the fact that we can point 11 aircraft carrier groups at any country in the world at any time if they decide differently about the value of the American dollar than we want them to. Which means literally we are a tin pot dictatorship right now, running around bullying everybody else into accepting our trade terms. It's gunboat diplomacy. We've been exercising it for, well, ever since 79, ever since Carter. And thing is probably even before then. I know Nixon was a big fan of it, especially when he sold out the UN seat to China mainland over Taiwan, who had the rights to the seat at the time. Yeah, economically, we're a failed state. We are about to go into a complete tumble. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the skilled labor sets in order to stand up production here locally within the U.S. And a lot of this is because of the way that the duopoly has set us up to fail over the last 30, 40 years. Nixon, back in, what was he? He would have been 72, 73, somewhere around there. Anyway, Nixon, when he set up favored trade status with China, that created a particularly nasty situation. And then we started doing all of the outsourcing. We created high wages here in the United States, protected by minimum wage laws. And then we turned around and we opened up free trade agreements. Those free trade agreements turned around and sent all of those jobs overseas because the wages were cheaper, the labor was cheaper. And it turned the United States into an information economy, into a paper economy, rather than an actual production economy. You take a look at the amount of stuff that's, you don't even really have to take a look at it. If you step back and you take a look at what goes on with our trade imbalances, the fact that we do trillions in trade with China every year tells you that we are not a nation capable of producing. We are not a nation capable, prepared to mobilize the same way we did during World War II. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the mining infrastructure. We don't have the production, the steel capability. Now, to be fair, if we were to take all of those mothballed ships and airplanes that are sitting out on airfields and in naval bays all around the world, that's an awful lot of steel that can be repurposed. However, it still needs to be melted down and repurposed. And most of it's been used for yachts. Private yachts for rich people over, the last several decades. And that's one of those things. It's really dangerous. I think if we retain the support of several of our allies, we pull our troops down, we cut down on the expenses associated with our military force projection, which right now keeps us occupying 150 countries around the world, and we start recreating our infrastructure, recreating our production capability, actually teaching people how to, do the mining again, create the steel, do all the things that we need in order to create U.S.-based steel again, create U.S. infrastructure again. If we get a lot of the barriers to innovation removed, if we remove the intellectual property rights that's preventing development on some of those technologies, some of those innovations, some of those disruptive technologies, so that we can utilize it here in the U.S., hopefully not in the same way China's using it, and to violate human rights, but actually start doing innovation on technology to recreate that strength, recreate the innovation, recreate that brilliance that was America back when Tesla was here. And even when we, brought in, scientists like Albert Einstein and a number of other individuals, If we can maintain those alliances, those allegiances, through the next 5 years, we can do essentially what we did in World War II, and that is completely change our infrastructure in an emergency way so that we can then, once again, be doing our own production. Once again, being an independent nation. See, that's an interesting one, Jason. Theoretically, if 45 wins again, I'd say we still got peace with China for another 4 years. A lot of it depends on who replaces Trump. And Trump's been playing the game. China probably won't call in the loans, at least until China owns more of it. If we run into a situation where, say, Joe Biden wins, depends on who he picks for his cabinet, China may call in the loans. Joe Jorgensen wins, oh yeah, China's going to call in the loans. What that actually means, though, particularly with a libertarian president who hasn't gone in and audited the Fed yet, she may look at China and go, yeah, tough luck. And that thing is, even with China calling in the loans, what does that actually mean financially to the rest of the United States? Does it mean we no longer get any imports? We end up with an import embargo. We end up with something like that. Not likely. Well, probably. Worst case scenario, there'll be end up sanctions against the United States because sanctions failed to own up to its responsibilities in international court. And then the international court will try and sell off, the United States the way Trump kept claiming he would try to. But there isn't a nation in the world right now that can take the United States and occupy it. This goes back to the whole Japanese theory during World War II. We don't actually want to occupy mainland America because behind every blade of grass, there's a hunter. More rifles in America right now than in all the militaries of the world. Nobody wants to invade America, not even America. So conventional warfare isn't likely to happen. The other thing is if China nukes us, the entire point of owning us is rendered moot. So the question is how fast can we recover from the sanctions put in place by China and Russia? We got YouTube. We got YouTube, man. I'm thinking we can probably recover pretty quick. But again, it's going to be that 4 to 5 years, and how many of our allies are going to participate in those sanctions because they're all part of the UN. Can we count on South Korea? Yeah, they're within nuke distance of North Korea. They're within nuke distance, Can we count on Great Britain? Can we count on France? Can we count on Germany? I don't know. A lot of our former allies have been significantly alienated. And we probably will have to, start from scratch. Beautiful thing about that is all of those multinational corporations, yeah, we won't need them anymore because they won't be doing us any good, and we can't bail them out anymore. I see an awful lot of international corporations just folding up and taking off. But yeah, no, I don't think we'll end up with a nuke. However, trials and tribulations are not going to be fun. Yeah, Germany's going to bail on us. They got no reason. Most of Europe, they're in no position to fight a fight with us. Not on that scale. It's one thing when we got little petty Bush wars running around the world right now. We got Like I said, we got troops in 150 countries, most of which we're actually exploiting right now. We were ever put in a situation where we truly had to defend those outlying positions against the Chinese who have established bases in Africa, or against the Russians who are bordering most of the countries we currently occupy in Southeast Asia or Southwest Asia, as well as, so the question is do we pull our troops home while we're still at peace with the rest of the world, or do we just leave them all hanging out there for when we decide to start World War III? I really hope they're home by then. It's an awful lot of American kids out there. And if we lose our strategic oil reserve, we don't have the force projection to replace them or pull them out. That's going to be a tough one. It's like right now we just send more troops into Syria too. Syria, where we actually are in conflict. War is never good for the economy. Only reason why the war worked out for the U.S. was because after World War II, we were the only industrial nation left in the world that hadn't been blown to smithereens. Meanwhile, populations all throughout Europe got crushed. All throughout Africa got crushed. We can't forget the plague that was part of the World War I issue as well. Famine, disease, death, all that fun stuff. War is good for the rich. And this is what it's good for. War is good for the rich. Of course, it's going to work out for the rest of it. Work out for America, especially. No industrial production. Literally, the other countries have to buy all of that production from us. After we spent 4 years with ration cards, to determine whether or not we had enough gas to get from point A to point B. Whether or not we had rubber for the tires for our cars, because they needed all of those tires on those AMC Jeeps we were sending overseas. Yeah. World War II, we did an awful lot of sacrifice in order for an awful lot of industrialists to get rich afterwards, didn't we? And after World War II, we built the Enterprise, the Empire State Building. It's because an industrialist got rich after World War II. Similar things. You and I don't get rich in wars. Nobody we know gets rich in wars. People we know get dead in wars. Doesn't matter whether they're small, doesn't matter whether they're big. Your friends and my friends get dead. Someone else gets rich. Anyway, it's been a long night. It's closing in on 8, folks. Thanks for the conversation, Jason. Appreciate it. The rest of you guys out there, Sage, thanks for joining me tonight. Thanks for the conversation. Good times. It's pizza time. Yes, it is. Remember, like, share, comment, tell your friends about me. Donate to my campaigns. Scrolling across the bottom there. It's going to get me in Congress so that I can make peace happen. One country at a time. We'll get our troops home. Bring them all home. Remember, folks, family,